At the NATO summit on September 16th, Defence Minister Bill Blair announced that Canada intends to purchase a fleet of new submarines for the Royal Canadian Navy. In the request to industry, the project calls for the acquisition of 8 to 12 diesel-electric submarines to replace the RCN's current aged fleet of 4 Victoria-class submarines. It is time to target the sad saga of submarines in Canadian service. The mission-specific requirements for the new subs are for them to have an operational range of 7,000 nautical miles. More importantly, these new subs will need to have the capability to operate underwater for up to 21 continuous days. While this will allow them to conduct patrols under the Arctic ice cap, it will not give them full access to the Arctic Ocean. While on the surface the submarine purchase sounds like a long overdue Canadian government investment in renewing underwater combat capability for the RCN. However, the real kicker to this story dropped last week. Ottawa Citizen reporter David Puglisi revealed the fact that the timeline for the submarine acquisition would not see the first of these boats delivered to the RCN and operational until 2037. The estimated price tag for this fleet of 8 to 12 submarines has already ballooned from $60 billion when first proposed to Navy planners now suggesting that the figure will top $100 billion by the time these subs become operational. The projected delivery schedule does not even guess at when the last of the 8 to 12 new subs will enter service. Despite this ridiculously long lead time on actually building these submarines, the staggering price tag of the project has generated substantial interest from potential bidders. To date, South Korea, Spain, Sweden, and France have expressed interest in offering their diesel-electric submarine designs to Canada, while both Norway and Germany currently produce submarines that could meet the requirements. However, for those who follow the saga of submarines in service with the RCN, one would have to caution those potential bidders that in dealing with the Canadian government, it will be a case of sellers beware rather than buyers beware. Back in 1987, the Mulroney Conservative government tabled a very ambitious white paper on defense. The Cold War was at its zenith.
Mr. Gorbachev, tear down this wall.
And in keeping pace with US President Ronald Reagan's strategy of outspending the Soviet Union into oblivion, Canada was to go on a wild spending spree to beef up the Canadian Armed Forces. In addition to buying 400 new main battle tanks, I kid you not, Canada was to purchase a fleet of 8 to 12 nuclear-powered attack submarines to replace 3 old Oberon-class diesel-electric submarines then in service. While the notion of this underwater combat capability, which would have been fully operational under the Arctic ice cap, undoubtedly worried the Soviets, it also unnerved our American allies. The US enjoys unfettered access to Arctic waters with its fleet of 53 nuclear-powered attack submarines, including the new Virginia-class subs, which can patrol under the ice without surfacing for weeks, unlike our diesel-electric counterparts. Despite the lucrative dollar figure of providing 8 to 12 nuclear-powered submarines for Canada back in 1987, the USA did not bid on the project. Both France and the UK did offer to provide these subs to Canada. However, under heavy US pressure, Canada scrapped the whole project in 1991 under the guise of a budget cut due to the Soviet Union's collapse. The old Oberon subs still needed to be replaced if Canada was to remain with an underwater combat capability. This resulted in the UK fobbing off their 4 mothballed Upholder-class submarines to Canada in 1994. Because of the volume of refit and overhaul required to bring the Upholders back to full readiness, the RCN did not take delivery of the first submarine until 2000, with the last of the 4 being commissioned in 2004. Unfortunately for Canada's submariners, the teething troubles experienced by the Royal Navy were never fully resolved. With almost a quarter of a century of service with the RCN, these challenges still continue. In the past 2 years, only 1 Victoria-class sub has been operational for a total of 53 days at sea. Lack of crew training is a major factor in that equation, and one that is not easily resolved. You cannot put a submarine to sea with an untrained crew, and you cannot train a subcrew without going to sea. At present, the Victoria-class are due to be decommissioned in the mid-2030s. With the 8 to 12 new subs not due to start delivery until 2037, it will be one hell of a challenge for the RCN to even begin to train the crews necessary to operate them. Of course, the way things are developing, by 2037 all these weapons platforms will likely be uninhabited. Uncrewed underwater vehicles, or UUVs, such as Northrop Grumman's Manta Ray stealth surveillance sub, are likely to dominate subsurface warfare in the future. This has been On Target. I'm Scott Taylor.